Why do you think more people don't talk about mental health or suicide prevention?
I think that there's a stigma that surrounds it, and people are afraid to talk about it because they're afraid of getting labeled as another depressed teenager.
Everything's wrong. The stress of my modern office has caused me to go into a depression.
Depression? Isn't that just a fancy word for feeling bummed out?
Dwight, you ignorant slut.
What is depression? No, depression is not just being bummed out or sad for an extended period of time. Depression is actually much more severe than that. According to mentalhealth.net, depression can be defined as a mental illness that has a significant effect on a person's ability to function normally and is marked by persistent feelings of sadness, emptiness, worthlessness, and hopelessness. These feelings can continue for years if left untreated. 48.3 million adults in the U.S. suffer from some form of mental illness. That's 1 in every 5 people. In the last year alone, roughly 16 million people have had a major depressive episode, and 15% of the population experience some form of depression. With lack of treatment, a lot of these people end up committing suicide. Suicide is now the second leading cause of death in children ages 15 to 24, and the 10th leading cause of death in the U.S. Treatment for depression starts with educating ourselves. There are 4 main types of depression. There's melancholia, psychotic depression, catatonic depression, and seasonal affective disorder. Melancholia is often the type of depression that people see the most physical symptoms with. People suffering from this type of depression often suffer from severe weight loss, and they end up losing interest in things that once brought them great joy. Another type of depression is psychotic depression. Psychotic depression occurs when an individual suffers from hallucinations, delusions, and paranoia while also suffering from other major depression symptoms. Third is catatonic depression. Catatonic depression can be categorized by either lack of movement or uncontrollable muscle movement. Seasonal affective disorder, also known as SAD, is actually one of the most controversial types of depression.
It has been a long, lonely winter. Wow. Seasonal affective disorder, aka SAD. That sounds like a very real thing, Toby.
It is real. Thank you for saying that.
Seasonal affective disorder is a type of depression that is directly correlated to the change in seasons. It occurs mostly in the winter time or when sunlight is not directly available, and people who suffer from it feel a lot worse during those times. Another way to better educate ourselves about mental health is to talk about it with the people around us. The lack of conversation about these issues can often make people who suffer from them feel even more ostracized. So, to start the conversation, I spoke with my friend Bryn on her views of the topic. So why do you think more people don't talk about mental health or suicide prevention?
I think that there's a stigma that surrounds it, and people are afraid to talk about it because they're afraid of getting labeled as another depressed teenager, and it makes it hard to open up about those kind of topics.
For sure. Do you think there's a way for people to change the negative stigma behind mental health?
I think that the best way to change it is to talk about it more, make people feel more comfortable about talking about it. And I also think that mental health resources should be more available in schools, like high schools and middle schools, instead of just being readily available in college, because by that point the damage is already done for some students.
I completely agree. After working on this project, I tried to ask myself the question, what could we all be doing differently to make this easier on everybody? In today's society, social media plays a huge role in our lives. While social media is a great invention that I love and use very much, there are some negative side effects with it. Cyberbullying is bullying that happens online, and it's so much easier than bullying in person. It's so much easier to say something hurtful behind a screen than to say it to somebody's face. Cyberbullying often leads to significant damage to somebody's mental health. It is cyberbullying and the general meanness in the way that we speak to people that really needs to change. To the best of our ability, we need to try to treat people with kindness. There are hundreds of hate comments online, and people give others with mental illness a very hard time. In order to end the stigma behind mental illness, we need to actually talk about it. To the best of your ability, embrace the people around you that are suffering. You can be the change that you want to see in the world. For too long, we've held our tongues in fear of offending someone around us, or being shamed by other people for feeling the way that we do. But there are ways to approach the topic without making it awkward. Sometimes all it takes is to just reach out to someone and be kind to them. You never know what somebody is going through. If you or someone you know is struggling with mental illness, call 1-800 273 TALK.